What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a video. I don't know if you've seen this video already, but I haven't shown it to you.
Okay.
So if you haven't seen it, we're gonna get your first initial reaction to this.
Okay. What the hell? Those are a bunch of dead cows, right? Why? And why are they sectioned out? Why are there so many? Oh, what the hell?
So this is a very disturbing video. This was shared on Facebook. Todd Ranch King says tens of thousands of healthy cattle in Arizona died spontaneously and simultaneously due to 100-degree heat. If you believe that, I have some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. ETA, this is in Kansas, not Arizona. Okay, so this is, I guess he's updating this. This is Kansas, not Arizona. He says, my mistake. Linked to an article where they claim this is not uncommon in early June, though I'm still unconvinced.
I'm pretty sure if this was common, this would not be the first time we've seen it or heard about it, because it's not like this is the first time the heat has gotten hot.
This is actually, and this is at a time where we just had another food processing plant fire.
Mm-hmm. You also just had bird flu or avian influenza where they killed off a ton of birds.
So, looking at the comments here, it says those cows would be used to that heat.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like poisoning to me. What the hell? Possibly allowed no water. Pretty sure there was plenty of water. We have, droughts in the western part of the U.S. But the amount of cattle here that is simultaneously,
Now, you have to look at it from a different perspective. What if those were all literally just killed to be sent to a plant to be processed for food? Maybe that's where they line them up to be put into the trucks to take them somewhere. Because you have to think about it. You're just seeing a video of somebody driving by.
You say that, but here's the link to the article. Thousands of cattle reported dead. Heat stress kills estimated 10,000 head of Kansas feedlot cattle. So this isn't routine.
Okay.
According to this article here from the Progressive Farmer, it says, and this was yesterday, the current heat wave blazing through Kansas feedlots has killed an estimated 10,000 head of fat cattle. Final death numbers continue to climb in, but that early estimate was shared with DTN by livestock experts who put the geographical center point for those deaths at Ulysses, Kansas. DTN calls to feedlots in the area and to ranchers who branded animals were seen in some privately shared photos of dead cattle were not immediately returned. What is known is that leading up to these heartbreaking losses, temperatures in the area were over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. There was humidity and there was little to no wind to help cool the animals. Temperature readings reported for Ulysses began to exceed 100-degree mark on June 11th. By June 13th, the high temperature was reported 104 degrees, with humidity levels ranging from 18% to 35%. They're saying it's hot.
Now, here's my question then. Where's the video of all the horses that would have died from the same heat, all the goats that would have died from the same heat, all the birds that would have died from the same heat, all the house pets that were outside that would have died from the same heat? If they're saying it's because of heat, literally everything should be dead then.
So, regardless of what they're saying, what's really going on?
They've killed them because the easiest way to increase prices of things that are already on the shelves is to ensure that there are no more things coming to the shelves.
We're already behind the 8 ball when it comes to farming, crops, fertilizer, wheat, soy, What else are we missing? The
Corn.
bird flu took out a large portion of our poultry, and
You're seeing less. You're seeing less like creamers and things like that on the shelves, and stuff that does take milk to make. But you're seeing an excess of
so this is not just
milk and cheese.
So this, I don't know what fat cattle primarily are used for, but it may not just be meat. It could be the milk and other dairy that could come from this cattle.
I wouldn't think so. I would think fat cattle is for the meat, probably also for the leather and things like that.
Well,
the hides.
We'd still be able to get that possibly from them. But you know, the food source, if they just died from heat exhaustion, I mean, I don't know if the food source is still going to be viable.
So fat cattle, steers and heifers that have been fed a nutrient-dense ration for the purpose of growing the animals, usually for 90 to 180 days in a feedlot or until they reach a desired slaughter weight. You know what could have killed them then? Overfeeding them. Trying to fatten up cattle too fast to get them to market could also kill them. I mean, if you are trying to pack a ton of nutrients quickly into a small space, one, you can only absorb so many nutrients before your body tries to kick it out because it's too much. Two, your stomach can only hold so much food and things at the same time before it explodes. So if they were trying to quickly go, instead of 90 to 180, they're trying to 30 to 60 it, they could have killed them just by overfeeding or overnutrient.
I mean, if that's the case, then it's like a double negative, because you were doing it to help increase the supply, but now you've decreased the supply.
Yeah. But were you doing it to help increase the supply for the people or increase the supply for your pocket?
But even if it's for your pocket,
matter,
it ends up for the people.
True.
And now nobody's going to get anything.
Yeah. Because there's no way that was a heat thing. I mean, yes, it could have been hot, but then also if you're pumping them full of these foods and then sending them out, or they're out in this heat, food does expand as it gets hot. So that could be another thing. It could have been numerous things working together to just cause a massive catastrophe.
What's odd is there's really only one story on this.
And it's from a farmer's...
It's from a Progressive Farmer. I don't even know who Progressive Farmer is.
Is it a... Look, I'm going to go political. Is it a Republican or a Democrat site?
I have no clue.
Is it from a PETA-style site?
If anybody knows anything about the Progressive Farmer, dtnpf.com, comment, let us know. Because there's only one... You have one share on Facebook and one article about this. It sounds really odd.
Yeah.
Really suspicious.
Yeah. Maybe it's not real. Remember Joe Rogan had some podcast where he was up in arms and livid and screaming his head off about something, and it turned out it happened to be a fake story that they didn't research before they started talking? I'm not saying about us, but I'm just saying, like, this could be one of those things where people are passing it around and maybe it's not real. Maybe that thing of cattle, the first whatever, has been looped 10 times. And then there's like a second one. You know what I mean? Like anything's it didn't look like it, but anything's possible because with editing today, Kansas heat wave kills cattle popped up when you were doing that. Cattle losses reported due to heat stress, state of the planet. Nope. So you've got two.
One. Yeah.
And that was an hour ago after they probably saw the other one.
We got one more an hour ago.
From drovers.com.
One, what salts are we using?
The heat is proving dangerous right now, not just for farmers and ranchers, but their livestock. Ag Day National reporter Michelle Rook joins us with an update.
Clinton, with heat indices climbing into the triple digits in cattle feeding areas, there have been some reports of death losses.
It's like impossible to use the internet.
And we have to make sure that there's enough calcium there.
Because so many ads pop up for absolutely everything.
There's not a lot of room left.
Dr. Dan Thompson of Iowa State University is a vet and leading animal health and well-being expert. Now, he tells me that the heat and humidity combined to raise the thermal heat index for those cattle and created the perfect storm.
But during these bouts of extreme heat, the cattle can't dissipate the heat at night because there's not night cooling. And so this perfect storm hits, no different than a tornado hitting a cattle feeding facility or a derecho or whatever, and we have these natural disasters.
And since the heat wave is expected to continue for a string of days, He says producers will need to continue to be on high alert to try to manage that heat stress.
I like how they said there's nothing they can do to, mitigate the heat. And it's like, well, you could have covered areas where cows could go. You could have trees that include shade where cows can go. Because if you look at free range cows, they have places to go. There are water sources on the ground. There are trees with shade. There are barns with the ability to walk in and out. But when you're doing it in this large number just for slaughter, they aren't looking at the health of the cow. They're looking at the profit in their pocket. So spending money to make sure that the cattle stays comfortable doesn't help their pocket, so they're not going to do it.
Regardless, this is going to be a devastating loss for food supply in general. And, it really makes you wonder why so many
Edible animals?
why so much destruction is happening to food supply left and right.
But if you look at it, the majority of destruction to food supply literally is based off of living things.
Oh, okay. So are you saying that?
So they were talking about, Bill Gates is trying to make a baby formula that is basically vegan. It has no actual animal properties in it. There's also a ton of new vegan style food out there that is chemicals and plants, mostly chemicals technically if it's a box, mostly chemicals and plants. The easiest way to push people into a direction you want them to go is to take away the option of going another direction. So if you want people to quit eating meat and you want to cut down on the impact of animal farming in the world, the easiest way to do that is to just not have animals.
But you're going about it the wrong way. But
is there really a right way?
If you relate it to renewable green energy, let's make gas and diesel so expensive and unavailable,
so that you can't plow or do these things. But then you have to look at it this way: the majority of corn, wheat, soy, and water in our country is used to feed the animals that are then killed to feed the people. If you take the animals out of the equation, there is more than enough corn, soy, water, and wheat to feed the entire world numerous times over. But because it's being used to feed animals, to fatten them up to feed you, you're basically taking food out of mouths that way.
Well, most of our food is going to be made in a lab pretty soon.
Oh yeah, most of it is now anyway, if you look at GMO stuff.
You have to have a push for the agenda for people to want that and reduce the pushback. And it's like with this gun control nonsense, there's forces out there driving certain events and
because they only happen around election.
And the media pushing certain narratives to convince the people to ask for this, to want this change.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, West Virginia, some guy comes to some graduation party and starts trying to light the place up with these, assault rifles that are so the cause of the problem, not this deranged individual.
Yeah.
Only for him to be put down by someone there who actually carried and knew how to handle themselves in a situation like this. But that doesn't hit the news because it doesn't
fit the narrative.
It doesn't propel the narrative of take the guns away from the people the law-abiding citizens who need them to protect themselves. It doesn't push that narrative, so they don't talk about it. And they want to make a push for renewable green energy, but they present all these negatives and then the media pushes the narrative of this is the direction we need to go, but they don't talk about all the positives on the flip side, where if we didn't shut down refineries, if we didn't make it impossible for refineries to operate, if we didn't send our resources to other countries, we would be okay. Cattle, food source, soy and wheat, they don't tell you all the other pros. They just present the cons and then put situations like this out, whether or not they were manufactured or not, but it pushes the narrative of we need to go this direction.
Well, in the beginning, you remember they were talking about there was going to be a huge loss of wheat, huge loss of corn, and it wasn't so you're not going to be able to get the food you want. It was, so how are you going to feed the animals? I mean, that was the narrative in the very beginning. They were letting you know that those things are used to feed animals, and without those, you wouldn't have the animals. They told you in the beginning what was going to happen, and now they're just following through with that.
So what's going to happen? What's the story going to be like one day when you read on the news that tens of thousands of people died overnight because it was too hot?
Yeah, I mean, there are people that do die because of the heat, so you have to keep that in mind. There are homeless people, there are people inside homes that still will perish due to heat because it does get so incredibly hot, and they don't have the means to get to water or some sort of cool space or something like that. But the odds that an entire city just goes up, it's not going to happen.
But then it pushes the narrative for climate change.
Well, everything pushes the narrative for climate change. Everything pushes the narrative that they want to push. Like you can find a way to spin literally anything to get it to what you need it to be.
But think about the pandemic and how it immediately affected you personally and your family to scare you into doing things and taking things and being boosted by things because they scared you into it.
Yeah. The easiest way to lead is with fear, which is really crappy, but I mean, it is what it is. If you scare people enough, they eventually fall in line with what you want because they're too afraid to go against it.
And they say, oh, well, we saw how it worked 2 years ago. We also saw the mistakes we made. So let's do this a little differently.
Let's try this again.
And then now we can do it again and push this narrative this time to get what we want by scaring the shit out of these people with the deaths and the possibility of deaths
because
and
of
labeling deaths with heat, with climate, with certain types of foods. And we need to move to eating bugs and fecal matter,
caterpillars and crickets and whatnots.
So anyway, I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't know if this is real, but it is disturbing, and there is something behind it.
There's definitely something behind it. And it's not the heat. Again, I mean, of course it could be heat related, but it is not solely heat related. Just the heat alone is not going to do it. Those animals are designed to be outside in the heat, in the elements, and things like that. It's not like the heat's going to immediately kill them. It has to do with whatever went in conjunction with the heat.
And like I brought up before in one of my previous videos, is that farmers have insurance.
And if you're not able to sell anything, the insurance company can at least pay if something goes.
Well, I mean, it's based on your production. So if you lose this cattle and your production goes down, then your insurance claim could be worth more than what this cattle was worth. All these food processing plant fires, semi-truck fires, all these sinking, declining businesses are having these catastrophic events. Like the next Walmart or Target fire, if we were to see a Walmart or Target fire anytime soon, after they just or Costco after they just reported, and Sam's Club would be in that list too since they're under Walmart's umbrella. Yeah. If we were to see one of those happen, it's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
They just reported record losses. Inflation is taking a toll on their businesses. They have to change their business models, and all of a sudden they start having fires and insurance claims.
Look, I was just thinking, this is totally random, but I was just thinking somebody comments on one of my videos that I have way too many things happening to me. It couldn't possibly be real, so they're out. And I'm like, because of the lost stolen driver's license, then finding that person's credit cards, then my wisdom tooth came out. Today my eye is all messed up and puffy, and it's like, yes, bad things can happen back to back to back to back in normal life, but what we're seeing over there with the fires and the deaths and the whatever, that to me is a little more catastrophic than my driver's license and tooth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. Keep messing with the like.
Let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Subscribe, share. Appreciate you guys watching. See you soon.